And one thing that I believe that Treyarch does better than any other Call of Duty studio is two things: Easter eggs and story. And one thing that they do on pretty much every single one of their games is on their multiplayer maps, each individual multiplayer map has their own story as well as a bunch of Easter eggs that you can find. And in the beta, it was no different, except for one thing. There is one thing that is different about Black Ops 6 multiplayer that no one else has caught on to. And in this video, I am going to show you exactly what that is. First of all, I'm going to show you all of the Easter eggs that were in the Black Ops 6 beta. But there is also an overarching Easter egg that actually is telling us what is going on not only in the campaign of Black Ops 6, but also in the multiplayer story. Let me explain what I mean. And also, if you haven't heard of this or seen this on the internet, I would appreciate it if you'd hit that like button, maybe share this video with someone, because I don't think this video is going to get that much attention unless you help it out. So a like and maybe share it with a friend who would find it interesting would be absolutely fantastic. But let me explain what I'm talking about. So if we go back to Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, at the end of the campaign, the story kind of ended off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. We had Russell Adler shooting Bell. We don't know whether he lived, died, survived, or what happened after that. But the story then picked up in the multiplayer 3 years later. The campaign took place in 81, whereas the multiplayer took place in 1984. And just like I mentioned, the story of Black Ops continued via the seasonal content, via Warzone, and via the post story. In other words, the multiplayer story. I believe that Black Ops 6 is doing something similar, but a little bit different at the same time. So let's start out by looking at the map Gala. This is a map that is a strike map and takes place in Washington, D.C. at a political gala. Now, this is going to be important in a moment. However, on this map, there is one Easter egg. As you go towards the middle of the map, you can hear some smooth jazz playing, and this is known as snakeskin boots. It is actually from the Black Ops 3 Zombies map, Shadows of Evil. Here's the thing, Gala, the map itself, is actually a little bit of its own Easter egg. Here's what I mean by that. If we actually go back and have a look at the only mission that we have seen from Call of Duty Black Ops 6, it takes place at a political gala in Washington, D.C. And as we find out, the date that this is taking place is February 2nd, 1991. Oddly enough, the multiplayer map Gala actually takes place only 1 day later on February 3rd, 1991, meaning that the multiplayer is actually taking place within the relative same time as the missions from the campaign. Don't worry, this is going to go further the more and more maps we actually look at. Now, another location that we know is in the Black Ops 6 campaign is Iraq, and in fact, 2 of the maps that we had within the beta took place in Iraq. One of them, the first of the dates, is March 10th, 1991, and this is the map known as Babylon. Now, as far as this map goes, really there is not many Easter eggs, but there is one spot on this map that you may not have known about. It is this little hop-up area on the one edge of the map. I just wanted to show you guys here. Other than this, I couldn't personally find anything hidden around these maps, but that being said, we didn't have custom games, so I really couldn't look too hard. So like I said, Babylon taking place on the 10th of March, the next map, Scud, takes place on the 18th of March, both in Iraq in a very close time period. Keep that in mind moving forward. Now, as far as Scud goes, again, not too many Easter eggs on this one, but as far as the one that I could find, on the inside of one of the buildings, there's actually a mural painted on the wall. And on that mural, there is someone that you may recognize. That is none other than Saddam Hussein, who is rumored to be one of the major bad guys in the Black Ops 6 campaign. Once again, seeing a little bit more evidence pointing towards that. There is another map that takes place in March, which is the 7th of March, 1991, and that is The Pit. Now, again, not a ton of Easter eggs on this one, but the map itself is kind of an Easter egg, because if you didn't know, this takes place in the Soviet Union, specifically at Vorkuta Prison, the same prison from Call of Duty Black Ops 1, where Reznov and Alex Mason were being held. And in fact, on one spot in the map, you can even kind of see one of those elevators that head up to the surface, like we saw in Black Ops 1.
Step 2! Rest! You shake it trust America! With my life.
Switching locations over to West Virginia, we have Derelict. Now, this takes place on May 14th of 1991. Honestly, I looked across this map. Again, I don't have private matches, but I couldn't find any individual Easter eggs, except for when we look at the next map. The reason why I say that is the next one is called Rewind, also in West Virginia, taking place one day later on June the 15th. So as you can see, the trend here is all of the map locations that are in the same area all take place within a couple of days of each other. That'll change in a minute, we'll get to that. But first, Rewind actually has a bunch of Easter eggs. So first of all, Treyarch maps, they kind of like to tell a story, and we've seen this before. I have videos on my channel going over other maps and their backstories, but Rewind is a good example of this. It appears as though this map actually takes place close to the Zombies map, which is Liberty Falls. In fact, off in the distance, one of the things that you can see is a billboard that says, "Welcome to Liberty Falls." You can see the police have moved in, there are some SWAT teams, and seemingly this may be in response to the Zombies event that have happened nearby. Now, here's the thing. Liberty Falls takes place on February 19th, 1991. In other words, about 3 months before the events of this map. So this map, whatever is going on here, is actually dependent on what ends up happening with the Zombies story. Now, speaking of which, there is another Easter egg. First of all, if you ever see an ATM, you can make the cash flow and dance around in it for those dollar bills, but the actual Easter egg that I'm talking about is across the map where we can see a sticky note that says Sam and then a phone number that says emergency only. Now, I tried to look up this phone number, find anything with the numbers, and really there wasn't anything, but a lot of people are assuming, since it's close to a Zombies map, Zombies Sam or Samantha Maxis is always a big thing. Maybe this is somehow related. Speaking of zombies, there is a movie inside the movie shop of the map that is titled Moon. Obviously could be a reference to the Zombies map Moon. The final thing on this map is the RV in the back alley is of course the Breaking Bad RV. This is actually the same RV and the same asset that they used in Modern Warfare 2 on Santa Cena border crossing. So yeah, this is just a reused asset, but when they made this thing back in the day, it was designed after Breaking Bad having the bullets shot through the door. So moving on to Stakeout, we have the location of Avalon, which is a made-up location by Treyarch, and the month June 20th, 1991. Now keep in mind Avalon and the date here. Now as far as Easter eggs on the map Stakeout, really I couldn't find any. This might be something that we learned throughout the campaign, but what it appears as though is this is a house where you're trying to track someone through Avalon, but we don't know from this who it is. But don't worry, Avalon gets much deeper. Because in fact, throughout the beta, Avalon actually has the most map locations out of any location. However, it is also the only location that spans further than like 8 days. This one actually spans nearly 3 months. The next map we had is Skyline with August 23rd, 1991. Now as a whole, I don't think there's really too many Easter eggs on this map, but there's a couple cool little aspects to it. First of all, it's another map that you can kind of tell the story of. It appears as though there was a board meeting going on this map when the compound was raided, and a bunch of the higher-ups were killed inside the boardroom area. Now, later on, a couple of other cool things about this map is you probably figured out as you played on it, there's a vent system that you can go into and turn on and off the security system on the one side of the map, being really the only map that has these kind of interactive features, at least that we've seen so far. On top of that, they're just like the original Nuketown, there's this little kind of RC track where you can drive the RC car outside of the map to get to one area of the map from another, just like we saw in the original Nuketown. So once again, remember how I was stating that Avalon spreads throughout 3 months? Well, the next one and final one, this is the last map that we actually couldn't play in multiplayer, but we could play on the training course, is Protocol, and it takes place in September of 1991. Now, I think I can say that this is the map that has the most Easter eggs out of any of them. Now, first of all, I want to say that Avalon does not take place in the United States, but where we are here is a United States military base. Keep that in mind moving forward. We see several different things on here as various different naval bases and naval kind of army insignias scattered throughout the map. On top of that, if you ever see a pool table on any of the maps, if you shoot the balls, they will all go into the holes. Just a little thing you might want to know. On top of that, in a couple of areas around this map, you can find a couple of certificates of appreciation. Now, first of all, if you look at the logo, you can very clearly see the Illuminati insignia, but the name of this is Advanced Technologies and Applications Division. This is the same division that founded Area 99, which is going to be the next Call of Duty Warzone map and has to do with the creation of Nuketown. I have a completely separate video on that that'll be linked down in the description. Now, I don't know this for sure, but we've also seen that Illuminati logo kind of like everywhere in all the promotional material. So I am guessing whatever this division is going to be a huge part of the Black Ops 6 campaign as well. Speaking of campaign, in another one of the rooms on this island, we can also see a chair, a very specific chair that may seem very familiar because it is an interrogation chair, very similar to the one that we saw Alex Mason sit in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, that we saw Adler sit in Black Ops Cold War, and have seen several, all the time throughout the entirety of the Black Ops universe. So cool to see this return in a little Easter egg as well. But then there is the big Easter egg and the big question that I have for you. Again, if we look at all of the time frames as in when these maps actually happen, each of the maps that take place in similar locations take place within a very small time frame, except Avalon. When it comes to Avalon, Avalon spreads a wide period of time, and I think there is a reason for that. And I think that reason is twofold. I think number one, when we actually get the multiplayer story for the game like we did in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, I think it is going to mostly take place in Avalon. Not to mention, it was rumored that Avalon was originally supposed to be a brand new big map for Warzone until we kind of got it announced that Verdansk would be making a return. So Avalon may actually come out before Verdansk does in spring of 2025. And in fact, all of these maps that we are seeing taking place on Avalon seem to be one part of a much larger map that we can see in the basement of the CIA headquarters that we can see underneath Protocol. So that is why I think the time frame is more spread out. I think there is more story going on there, whereas the rest of the maps that take place in West Virginia, Washington, Soviet Union are all actually a part of what took place within the campaign, whereas Avalon is the post campaign. Now, this is just a theory, but it was something that I noticed in the beta. But yeah, Avalon and Protocol, I think, are going to play a much bigger role in the post story, even the story of the campaign, and just the overall Black Ops story moving forward. Then the final one that we have is a calling card called Roster, and this, of course, shows us our characters: Jason Hudson, Alex Mason, Frank Woods, Russell Adler, all with their active status. In other words, KIA is Mason and Hudson. Active is Woods, and MIA, presumed AWOL, is Russell Adler. I'm not 100% sure who that person is on the right, so if you have any ideas there, let me know down in the comments. But it says Top Secret BO6, and yes, this sets up the story moving forward. And yes, I do know about that other calling card that was in there that kind of looked like that specific date in September. We're not going to go over that one, but they removed it. Anyway, this is the final Easter egg that we had in the Black Ops 6 beta. Let me know what you think about my theory down in the comments, and if I missed any other Easter eggs, feel free to let me know as well. If you enjoy these type of videos and want to see more like it, the best way to show me is by hitting that like button, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of that kind of jazz. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making